Good morning, people! How you doing? Catch a bit more of this theme tune, come on. I know you're liking it. I'll feel it. Woo! That's it. Well, how's it going anyway? How you doing? Feeling festive? It is well and truly time to be feeling festive, I must say. For a long time I've been thinking, every show, I always think, if it was just a bit closer to Christmas, then I could actually well and truly get festive. So now, this is the first time, actually, I think the first show that I'm actually very pleased to reveal Stephanie's Christmas countdown. It's now 17 days to go, people. Yeah, it's coming up fast. Big shout out as well to Tony and Maggie, who I believe are listening this morning. Packing up, about to move house. Hope it's going well anyway. Good luck, that's all I can say. Wish I was around to help. Yeah, honestly I do, Right, anyway, so let's get on with the show. What have I got for you today? I'm going to have to tell you it's a very special one, folks. It always is. I know. So I can hear you. But Ben, it's always marvellous. It's always special. Well, thank you. Too much, thank you. Well, this time it is actually very special because, not only am I going to be dropping some science on you, as always, I'll promise you a bit of science. Actually, I might be playing one of these old debates. Actually, this is fantastic, between two of our profs on campus. Now, this is great. But we're going to give you actually today. I'm going to help you choose the very best Christmas presents. Okay. Now, if you've got any left to do, that's fine. Last minute Christmas shopping, fine. I say last minute. I haven't even started. So I think if you haven't started yet, then that's absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. But anyway, some people might say, "Oh, this is a bit late." Whatever. Whatever your shopping habits are, I have got some people here to help you choose the very, very best Christmas presents today. I've actually got the editor of Trusted Reviews on the show with us to talk about some of the cool tech gadgets and toys and things like that you can get. So particularly if you've got any kids or anything, you're looking to get something pretty cool, then he can tell us all about that as well. Now, but first up as well, we do have Ian Cumming, the Great British Bake Off runner-up in 2015, and he's actually on the show today. Now, this is I love this. Okay, so they're rolling out these smart meters. I don't know if you've come across these yet. These smart meters, you can get them through your energy suppliers, but essentially, it's a new way of looking at what you're using basically in almost real time with these devices. Anyway, what Ian has done in collaboration with Smart Energy GB is he actually was challenged essentially to come up with some green recipes, green in terms of his energy use. So his challenge was to use this smart meter to try and pull down the amount of energy he was using on a Christmas meal, okay? And he came up with a few recipes, and they do sound pretty tasty. I'm not going to lie, they sound pretty tasty to me. As you all know, I'm a brilliant chef. Just left a couple moments silence there, just to let that sink in, and just to allow you time to maybe to combat that. No, not bad. No, I don't hear anyone. No. I'm a brilliant chef. There we go. Okay, got that comment through on air. Excellent. So, yes, we'll be talking to Ian anyway. He'll be telling us a little bit about these recipes and how you can also follow him and come up with some green recipes on your own as well and cook up what he's created for you. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. We've also actually got... now, this is really cool, I think. Now, a while ago, actually, this is something which I think of quite often when we're thinking about, particularly with science, Cornwall's science session. I like to drop some science on you on my breakfast show, I'm afraid, on Thursday, as you know. Now, one of the things which comes up very often, of course, is thinking about music, obviously, radio station, a quite natural thing to think about. But here's the interesting thing, what about the evolution of music? So if we're thinking about the evolution of, various traits in nature, we can probably all agree that, we're quite happy using Darwin's ideas to kind of understand, how those traits arose and indeed their kind of ultimate purpose, if you like, in an evolutionary sense. But I think it becomes a bit more complicated, or perhaps a bit, perhaps you don't as readily agree, let's say, that we can apply those ideas to things like music. Well, actually, we've got Tom Curry on the show. Now, this is an older interview, actually. This is last year. Tom Curry, senior lecturer in cultural evolution here at the University of Exeter. Now, he actually last year went to this conference. And met up with this chap, actually, who had just published his, or just in the process of publishing his PhD thesis, all about actually the evolution of music. So it's fantastic. It's cool to hear that there's research going on in areas like this as well. Something which you probably wouldn't really immediately think of when you thought about biosciences. Quite nice. It really shows how kind of broad the area is, I suppose. But anyway, right. So why am I telling this? Well, here's a cool bit. So today I've got actually the deputy editor of Q magazine. So Q magazine, the big music magazine. You might have seen it on the shelves. Pretty much anywhere you look. I've got the deputy editor of Q magazine with us today, Neil Doherty, to actually talk a little bit about now. This is fantastic. Now, he's actually with Liam Howley, who runs Music Magpie, which is essentially this kind of second-hand, a bit like eBay. It's like a second-hand, sell things for cash setup. And basically, his message to you today is that have a little look for your old CDs, because this is actually a cool way, right? You can pick up a little bit extra cash, especially just before Christmas. Kind of useful. Anyway, they're talking, and I really like this. Okay, so they did a survey, right, to find out apparently what the British public is saying are the very best and worst songs. Now, but here was the thing, right? You were asked in a survey whether, which songs... Okay, here's the scenario, right? You're trapped in a classic scenario. We've all heard of this, right? Trapped on a desert island, and you can, take one thing and leave one thing. Okay, so this was basically that setup, but, thinking about music. So if you were trapped on a desert island, what songs or what bands or what CDs or whatever, what albums would you take with you, and which would you leave behind forever, never to hear again? Okay, so we're going to hear how people responded to that survey. Yes, and I thought that was the ideal time to actually think a little bit, perhaps a little bit more sciencey about music. So that's I got Tom Curry on the show now. Actually, I've exciting stuff. Actually, we got Tom scheduled for some stuff in the new year. So we're gonna hear more from Tom. So if you like hearing from Tom today, then don't worry. Yeah, you'll be hearing more from him. And equally true to say, you'll also hear from the profs again in the new year. Now, I was saying about this debate that I might be putting on for you today. We'll see how time goes. Yeah, see how you're feeling a bit later. Anyway, I'll just see what you think. But this section about toys and best Christmas presents from the trusted reviews. Now, I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you a bit more about this later, but I thought this is the perfect time to bring up quite an old debate, actually. Again, last year, had this debate, posed this question to the profs, and you'll find out what that is very soon, towards the end of the show, okay? So stay with me on this if you're interested in the sound of that. Now, okay, enough talk. That is enough talk from me for now, people. It's over, first of all, to Ian Cumming. Now, Ian, welcome to the show, good sir. Please, educate the good people. Educate them on your recipes. Welcome to the show. Hope you enjoy this section, people. Come back. Join me in the studio afterwards. Don't you dare. Don't you dare go anywhere. Okay, well, enjoy.
Hi, this is Ian from Great British Bake Off 2015, runner-up to the great Nadia Hussain. I'm here today to talk about some low-energy cooking in conjunction with Smart Energy, GB.
Fantastic. Well, a very warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us today. And this is actually... I'm going to say straight off, just so you know exactly where I am. I'm very passionate about cooking, but I'm also a dreadful chef. So
right.
gonna have to. The only thing that I can cook successfully, or actually, some people could say that I can't even cook this successfully. But I'm not going to lie when I say I can make a pretty killer chili sauce.
A chili sauce.
A chili sauce,
okay.
yeah.
As in like chili con carne kind of chili sauce.
No, like a spicy chili pepper sauce. One of my friends, he grows Jared. Actually, he grows these deadly ghost chili peppers, and I'm going to say they're lethal.
Yeah, they do sound quite scary. I've never tried one, but I've seen video of people eating one, and it doesn't look like a nice.
No, it's honestly just painful. I don't know who on this planet eats them out of joy. Really, it's.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a bird's eye chili. It's like, that's fine. Thank you very much. That'll do.
Exactly.
You go up the Scoville scale, and then you get way up there as these crazy ghost chilies.
I know. Well, this is something like 2 million. I think it's close. It's in the region actually of just pepper spray. It's absurd.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd start with that, just so that you know that I'm the worst chef of all time. So then we can follow it up with some of the best cooking of all time.
Well, I hope so. I'd like to think so, but
I think so.
Don't get me wrong. I've done some shockers in my time. I really have. But,
I don't believe it.
Oh no! Well, in fact, it's funny when Bake Off was on. The CBBC also had a program on called Disaster Chef. And I got 2 young kids, and used to make the slightest mistake, and my kids were like, "Dad, you shouldn't have been on Bake Off. You should have been on Disaster Chef."
Your harshest critics.
Oh my word, yeah, definitely. Especially my son, because he doesn't like cake at all.
Oh, what? That's
Yeah,
madness.
I know. I do wonder sometimes. You're really my son. You can kick a football quite well, and you don't like cake. It's like, well,
All sorts
how
of
did that
drama
happen?
starts to unfold.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, go on then. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear a little bit about this because you've recently, haven't you, tried to, or well, no, you have very successfully come up with some ideas for recipes actually, and you've done this, haven't you, by trying to keep it as green as possible by keeping track on your smart meter what you're spending and what you're using.
Yeah.
So this is
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah. So basically, last year I had one of these smart meters fitted in my home, and sort of using that, you could see, in real time or almost real time, how much each recipe was kind of costing in terms of pounds and pence. And it's very interesting how when you turn on the oven, sort of lights go off and not quite. Klaxons go off, but it's
Yes.
it's a certainly my one's a 4 kilowatt oven, so which is most ovens about 3 or 4, and so it uses a lot of energy and money. So
Yes.
So Smart Energy said, right, basically turn off your oven. Which is like, well, that's a shame because I'm kind of known for turning on an oven. But it was very good. It was kind of almost like Bake Off in terms of like, right, here's a problem. We need you to come up with a solution for it. And so came up with a selection of recipes for them that used considerably less energy.
Oh, that's ideal, and I bet as well because it kind of forced you to just get a bit creative and not immediately jump to what you'd usually do. I bet that allowed you to come up with something a bit different as well.
Yeah, it did really. You did have to think creatively, and that's what I kind of enjoyed. So, one of the kind of the starter, if you like, was doing these steamed buns. I like my bread, but unfortunately, turning on an oven does use a lot of energy. Tapping on the sort of, I have to say, experiences from my travel photography days of enjoying lots of steamed buns out in China, kind of came up with a Mediterranean twist of those. So. Filling them with spinach and feta cheese.
Oh, lovely! Yes.
Yeah, no, so it's really nice. And then you just you pop them in a steamer for about 15 minutes, and hey presto, you got a really nice starter.
Fantastic.
So it's kind of things like that, and doing no bake cheesecake instead of a baked one, and kind of goes from there really.
Lovely. And do you have a personal favourite dish out of the selection that you've come up with? I know that's not fair question, is it?
I think the cheesecake is my favourite.
Okay, yes,
it really is.
That does sound good.
It's a real winner. In fact, I'm doing quite a lot of them over the next few days for Smart Energy. One of which involves racing around London on a battered motorbike taxi, handing out cheesecakes, which I'm kind of looking forward to in a slightly apprehensive motorbikey kind of way.
Well, how can people get involved in that? Because I can guarantee that people are going to hear that and think, right, that's it, I need to see it.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be in 5 different boroughs across London. I'm just trying to think of where they can. Maybe it'll be on the Smart Energy GB website, but I'm not too sure. You've got me on there.
People will be watching Google like a hawk. I won't worry. That we'll find out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's generally. I think the no bake cheesecake is a really lovely recipe, which I just and it's one of those ones you can lick the bowl and straight away it's like, yes, this is a bit of a winner.
I might attempt it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a sort of like a Russian roulette of chili peppers. So one half is going to have some of these ghost peppers in.
You get those not jelly. I think it's jelly beans, isn't it?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
you can. Yeah.
That's an intriguing idea. That'll keep people on their toes.
Yeah, but maybe that's an idea for next time. Actually, just make it a bit dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as if going around the back of a motorbike delivering cheesecakes wasn't enough.
Yeah,
but,
chucking some poison as well. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. But I think sort of next week's Borough Bakes, as we're calling it, will be sort of out there on Twitter. Certainly going to Kentish Town, going to Hackney Wick. I think might be ending up in Greenwich as well. So it's going to be all over the place, yeah.
Well, something to watch for people. And is there anywhere that people can check out the recipes? Or it's fair enough if they're top secret because.
No, they're definitely out there. They're there to be shared and enjoyed by as many people as possible.
That's good
so they're on the Smart Energy website, which is smartenergygb.org. And if you have a look there, all the recipes will be up there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much indeed. That sounds fantastic. I mean, one final point to make, I think, as well as we started by saying, you're doing this cutting down costs essentially, being greener. But I just see actually this is quite a crazy figure, isn't it? The average Christmas dinner actually is costing around £27 per person. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm staggered by that. I mean, that's a good meal out, isn't it?
It really is.
£27 a person. I mean, maybe that includes a very nice bottle of wine or something with the meal. But
get you a banquet in Wetherspoons, wouldn't it?
Exactly, that's it. It's like, eat out. But no, I'm certainly going to be cooking up a turkey. But I'm just trying to think. I mean, do I really eat £27 worth at Christmas lunch?
I know.
Maybe I'm selling the family short.
If we think about the beers, then I would imagine for me that increases quite substantially. But, forget that one. But I think one of the things with Christmas lunch, because it's kind of difficult not to turn on the oven for Christmas lunch, is kind of just be clever about it and make sure you're using the oven to its full effect. So you've got lots of things in there at once, rather than doing one thing after another until the oven's on for hours and hours and hours. Yeah, and actually, if you're able to kind of watch what you're doing almost in real time with the meter, then that's bound to assist you in that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is intriguing when you sort of see it pop up and it's like, oh, you are now spending X amount per hour or whatever. It's like, ooh, geez, right, okay.
Yeah. Better change tactics.
Not do this and let's not do that. So, it is good.
Well, Ian, thank you very much for sharing some of your recipes with us.
That's all right, Ben.
People
Thank
are
you
going to
very
be very pleased with this. One last thing for you, sir. Have you got a song choice that I can put on for you today? Because I know this is an unfair question to spring up on you, but if you've got one off the top of your head, just shout out.
A song choice.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought.
I know it's tough.
Let me see. I'm going to have to look on my phone and just see what I just bought recently.
Yes,
to
good idea.
See what I'd particularly like. And in fact, I just got some stuff for the kids' disco last week.
Oh, there we go. One of those will be fun.
I tell you what, something by Left Field. Blast from the Past.
Yeah,
Left Field?
Oh, yeah, okay, absolutely.
I mean, it's like, that's 23 years old now, I think, something like that. A more recent song I just got, which I've never heard of, but really liked it. Something called Traces by Sloan.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't heard that. Well, it's your call. Whatever you're thinking. Maybe both.
Yeah.
Maybe both.
Yeah, maybe both. Yeah. Maybe you'll think they're rubbish, but...
No, fantastic.
Yeah. All right.
Well, Ian, thank you very much. I'll let you go. Thank you.
That's cool. Thanks very much then, Ben. Cheers.
Bye. Well, thank you very much, Ian. Thanks for coming on the show. Now, here's Traces by Sloan. We'll, of course, be getting some old school vibes on go as well a bit later. But for now, here it is. Thank you very much, Ian, for coming on the show. Now, next up, more exciting things for you. Oh, yes. Plenty of exciting things for you today. Next up, we've got Liam Howley from Music Magpie and Neil Doherty from Q Magazine. Now, he's the deputy editor of Q Magazine, which I'm sure you've come across before. After this, I'm going to delve into the science of music a little bit as well. So, hopefully this bit will be of some interest to you. We'll see. I'll get it on for you now. Anyway, this first piece, now I love this, okay? So it's about... Great little survey that they did, actually, to find out which songs that the great people of the UK would like to leave behind, were they to be evicted to a desert island. Which songs would you take with you? Yeah, so it's like, what's going to be my theme tune forevermore? I don't know. You'd have to be careful what you pick, wouldn't you? Because it wouldn't necessarily be one that you really like, because what if you become sick of it and you have to deal with it every day? Anyway, I'm perhaps thinking about it a bit too much here. Here's the interview. Anyway, enjoy.
So I'm Liam Howley, I'm Music Magpie's marketing director. And I'm Niall Doherty, I'm the deputy editor of Q Magazine.
Awesome. Well, a very warm welcome to you both, chaps. Now, I must say, I love this. I love this research. Actually, this little survey for Music Magpie about the songs that people could go to a desert island and keep with them, or they'd leave behind. So, yeah. I mean, come on, chaps. What's topping the list? And also, what I really want to know is, do you agree with that list?
Well, I think this research from Music Magpie shows that the British pillars of music are still strong and are still holding their own. So Queen are at number one with Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's a relief.
which I think that, as it's 3 songs in one, shows that the British public loves value for money.
Yes.
And then you've got the Beatles in there, Adele's in there, and in terms of the modern pop phenomenon, Ed Sheeran has just got in there at number 10 with Shape of You.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't surprise me actually. Ed seems to be everywhere at the moment, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think he's one of those artists that daughters and sons love, mums love.
Yes.
And there's people like me in the middle, and like, do I like Ed Sheeran? I don't. But do I know all the words to Shape of You? I definitely do, yeah.
That's it, yeah. I mean, I must admit to not being a particularly huge fan myself, but I mean, give me any of the songs and I'll happily sing along. He's a bit of a wordsmith.
Yeah.
So what about what's losing out big time then?
Well, I think the big surprise is Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You" has narrowly missed out on the top 10.
Oh, that's just not fair.
And that's one of those, I think, that just shows that even what you can consider timeless pop music, I mean, that has been one of the biggest ballads and has got couples together on dance floors all over the world for the past few decades.
Absolutely.
But sometimes certain songs or certain records do start gathering dust in the attic.
Well, that's
and it's sort of it's time for them to depart your CD collection.
Well, that's it. And I think guys, you're gonna have to own up to something now as well. Have you? Sometimes you go back and look through some old CDs and things, and you come across something and you think, oh, what is this? Why have I got this? Have you ever come across something so bad that you're just ashamed?
Well, I think the first record I had was "Do the Bartman." So that's a pretty embarrassing admission right there. So I think Music Magpie, when you come across these ones you don't want anymore, or CDs you're just not listening to anymore, Music Magpie gives you a great way to get some money for those. Yeah,
you might as well pick up a few quid for it saves them hanging around, doesn't it?
Precisely, and we interviewed the people of the Southwest, and 62% of them said they struggled with their Christmas spending. So
yes.
Getting some money from items that you don't use anymore, be it CDs, DVDs, video games, or tech like old mobile phones, then that's a great way to fund your Christmas spending, whether it be on your turkey, crackers, or just some presents for friends and family.
That's it, and you can maybe even pick up some fresh CDs or fresh vinyls, whatever you're into. Actually, that's interesting. Vinyls seem to be making quite a comeback at the moment, don't they? And it's something which I think a lot of people have all these old collections of things like vinyls and as you're saying, CDs. Obviously, you can actually get quite a lot of cash for these, can't you? It's great.
Yes, precisely. Everything in that collection, if you're not listening to it, you're not using it, then you can get rid of it and get some money for it. We've seen vinyl sales from our Music Magpie store are going up and up and up. They're coming back in popularity, especially from the younger generation who may not be listening to actual CDs anymore. They've kind of moved back onto vinyl, and it's kind of been a cyclical process.
Yeah, I mean, not long ago, actually, I was going through my parents' old stash of vinyls, and I came across this one that reignited my love for what I think is the greatest singer of all time. Do you want to hear a quick preview? I know you're gonna know who it is, but
go for it. Love to.
Give you a quick preview. Here you are.
Exactly what you're thinking. Yes, you want my body and you think I'm sexy.
Oh yeah, you know what it is.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
You're going to sing along.
Yeah.
You can if you want. It's not. I'm not stopping you.
I think sort of the way people listen to music nowadays, whether they're accessing streaming sites, is also reflected in their music collections. I think it used to be that once you had a CD collection or a vinyl collection, that was yours for life. You would only add to it. It would become bigger.
Yes.
It would, you'd have to buy more cupboards, more storage. Whereas I think now people treat it like they might have 10, they might have 5 that they will keep forever. But I think they treat it as sort of a fluid, evolving music collection.
Yes. No, that's a good point actually, and again, I think that just kind of reiterates the point about if you do have this stash of CDs and vinyls and things, someone out there definitely wants them. I mean, I absolutely loved that find. I was so happy when I found that.
Yeah, like you say, Music Magpie is the easiest way to get rid of that collection and those things you're not using. Scan them with your smartphone, with the app on the smartphone. It turns your camera into a barcode scanner. We'll give you an instant price. You put them all in a box, send them to us for free, and we pay you the very same day. So really quick way to get some money for Christmas.
Cool. And have you got a link to hand for it? I mean, you just pop it into Google, I'm sure, the Magpie, and your Music
Perfect,
Magpie.
yes. You can Google Music Magpie or head straight over to musicmagpie.co.uk.
Fantastic. Sounds good. Well, thank you very much, chaps. Appreciate your time this morning.
Great, thanks very much.
One very last quick thing, though, and this is going to be a hard one, right? Out of all of the songs that we've been talking about lots of good songs, lots of perhaps not so good ones in people's opinions, but if you had to choose one song for me to play for you today on the show, what are you going to choose? Tough one, yeah.
Well, I would think I would like to give your listeners a little kick, and I will go with one from this is from the 35 to 44-year-olds choices.
Excellent.
Which is my ballpark, and it's Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Oh, okay, yeah, nice. Good choice. Well, thank you, chaps. Appreciate this.
Great, thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Time.
Thank you.
You too,
Take
bye-bye.
care.
And I will always love you. Oh, no. I was distraught to find that hadn't made it to the top 10 this time. Oh, what's going on? What's going on, people? I'm sure it's nothing to do with that rendition of it as well. I'm sure. Well, actually, having said that, I'm sure now that I've done that, sales are just gonna go crazy on Music Magpie, aren't they? Specifically for that one record. And that survey, people are gonna demand it back. No, I was wrong, and you need it back now. Now that I've heard that. That little vocal line. Yeah, sorry about that. I really couldn't help myself. Anyway, I tell you what I'm going to do first. So I'm going to get that request on, because that is a kind of request you don't really want to turn down. A bit of Nirvana always goes down, particularly well, I think especially pre 9 a.m. This is what I've heard. So I'm going to get this on for you. Cheer you up. Get you in the mood for a fantastic day ahead of you. Have a cracking Thursday. And this will get you kind of in the mood for that, I think. Enjoy. Well, thank you, everybody, so far. Hope you're enjoying this show. And a big thanks to Liam and Neil for coming on the show just now as well. That interview you just heard then. Thank you very much, chaps. Now, as promised then, I'm going to delve a little bit into the science of music now, the evolution of music. Now, as I said, this is an older interview now. So last year, Dr. Tom Curry, our very own Dr. Tom Curry, from the University of Exeter's Cornwall campus. Now, he actually went to visit this fantastic chap who'd actually just handed in his PhD thesis all about the evolution of music. So I thought a perfect time to give that a spin today, thinking a little bit about music in terms of science. Now, let's get this on for you. Hope you enjoy. If you've got any questions, as always, people, just fling them my way. I'll be happy to receive. I'll be there waiting. I'll catch them. Might even blow you a kiss in response. I don't know. Depends if you like that kind of thing. What am I talking about? So sorry, people. I'm going mad this morning. Right, I'm going to get this on for you now. Hope you enjoy it.
I'm here with Pat Savage from the Tokyo University of the Arts. Pat is a musicologist who recently submitted his PhD thesis. So, Pat, you study music, but what is music?
That's a really good question, Tom. And surprisingly, no one has a very good answer. I think it's probably easier to say what isn't music. So random noises, screeching sounds, those, a lot of people would agree that they're not music. Most people know when they hear music, they can kind of say, oh yeah, this is music, but it's pretty hard to define. So one of the most common definitions is music as organized sound, or sometimes it's music as humanly organized sound, which depends on whether you think that animal song can be classified as music, which is kind of a very long and heated debate. But even within humanly organized sound, there's language as humanly organized sound, but most people don't consider language to be music. So trying to decide the border between language and music is actually an ongoing debate that not many people are able to do. In general, music is often defined as against language, so music often doesn't have any clear meaning that can be defined in linguistic terms. Other differences with language, music tends to use discrete pitches or discrete rhythms, so usually sings musical scales, like la la la, whereas language tends to be kind of continuous and glidey, and music tends to have a beat that you can sort of dance to or tap to. Music doesn't. Then finally, music is often tends to be something that's pleasurable, that people get enjoyment out of. But the question of how to define that is a really tough one that most people really can't answer. Yeah, and some people's most beautiful music, other people hate, and vice versa.
So you mentioned that some people define music as humanly organized sound. So do other animals not have music, or is there a way of defining music so that other animals may do music-like things?
Yeah, so there's a big debate about that. Some people insist that only humans have music. Obviously, all or many animals make sounds, and they're crickets chirping or primates calling, birds fluttering. But the one that's most often compared to human music and has been for centuries is birdsong. It's often considered to sound very musical. It sounds kind of like scales. Many musicians have been inspired by birds to make music. Messiaen even kind of copied birdsong to make his own music. And the big similarity between human music and bird music is that both are culturally learned. So most animal sounds are innate. They just make certain calls and they don't learn them. They're just programmed into their genetics. But birds actually learn their songs from their parents and from other birds, and they sort of develop regional. They call them dialects, and they often compare them to sort of the diversity of languages that humans have is sort of mirrored by the diversity of bird songs. I think birds have music, and other animals that are thought to have something comparable to human song are surprisingly things like whales. So there's all these kind of diverse groups. They're not really related to humans. So most people don't believe that any other primates besides humans have these culturally learned songs, but there are many birds that do, and there are whales and maybe seals, and all these animals that seem to have this evolved capacity for vocal learning. So people who are interested in understanding music evolution and language evolution tend to wonder, okay, why do humans and birds and whales, these very different groups, all have this ability to sort of learn songs? And we still don't know the answer, but something about music seems to be very important to the evolution of life.
So do bird song or whale song, does that have the same kind of rhythm as human music? And also, in other examples, are there animals that produce rhythms perhaps but don't have the kind of the vocal or the pitches that is found in human music?
Good question. So usually everything has rhythm in some sense if you define rhythm as, existing in time. But in terms of having a beat that you can sort of tap to or dance to, birdsong and whale song doesn't tend to have that. So that may be one of the things unique about human music, is that it has these songs that are fixed to a beat that you can synchronize multiple people to. So groups, the sort of group music making might be something that's unique to human music. There are some primates, some like African apes, that make sort of a drumming on like tree logs that sort of has this rhythmic beat kind of feel, but they don't synchronize. They're not like dancing in groups to this beat. This sort of synchronized rhythms of human music seem to be somewhat unique.
Maybe that combination of the combination of beat plus the pitches that's seen in other things is maybe the unique thing about human music. Yeah,
I think so. And so there may have been kind of a stepwise process where maybe the first humans evolved the ability to imitate songs like birds and whales, and then from that, so there's this desire to kind of coordinate led to the evolution of a beat, or maybe vice versa, or some other way. But
so that touches upon another issue, isn't that? So why do we have this ability to make and appreciate music? So why did music evolve in humans?
And that's also a very good question, an old question that still is up for debate. So Darwin, among others, thought that music sort of evolved before language, and language is a kind of a byproduct of music, and that music first evolved to woo for males to woo females, as seems to be the case with birds. But other people argue the opposite, that music is simply a byproduct of language evolution. Like, so Steven Pinker has called music as just auditory cheesecake. It just happens to sort of tickle these sweet spots that evolved for other reasons, but we didn't. Making music was not really the goal of evolution. It was language, and then it happened to lead to sort of an incidental appreciation for music. But a third theory that I find the most convincing is that music is related to group bonding. So there's there's not many sort of benefits that an individual gets from making music. It takes a lot of time and energy. It's very conspicuous. If you're singing out in the fields, you could get hunted down by a tiger or something, or a lion. But one thing that music does seem to function very well is to bring people together. So throughout the world, throughout history, groups get together in groups. They make music together, they dance together, they beat drums together. They kind of get this kind of euphoric bonding rituals through music, whether it's Japanese Bon-Dori dance, or sort of a ritual religious dance, and some far off culture. It often seems to have this really group function, or whether it's a modern day rave in in a British club. It seems to have a similar kind of bonding effect. And I've felt, everywhere I've been in the world, I've often found this music as a great way to connect with other people. Even if I don't speak the same language, we can, clap along and dance along and have a really good time and feel like we connect with each other. So it's sort of intuitively the most appealing to be that music evolved to help us come together.
And I think
we've sort of published some versions of this idea in a little more dry language in scientific journals.
Yes, yeah, and so is it things such as the rhythm, the beat, and the pitch that allows people to kind of coordinate their actions and do things together?
Yeah, I think that the fact that music has these discrete pitches, discrete rhythms, unlike language, makes it easier to synchronize. People like to sing along together in churches or in crowds, soccer and soccer games. The fans sing along together and dance along together in a way that if everyone's just trying to talk at the same time, it becomes a sort of chaotic babbling. And in fact, if you really turn sort of speaking, try to get a lot of people to speak something in a group, it ends up kind of turning into sort of a religious kind of chant anyway. So that's where the boundaries between language and music again get blurred. So yeah, I think that the features that we think of as kind of distinctly musical seem to be ones that help us to coordinate with other people.
And so you mentioned some different kinds of music in different parts of the world earlier. Is music pretty much the same around the world, or in what ways does it vary?
So I think most people who have some familiarity with different musical styles are always struck by how different it is. And at first glance, music seems to be not at all the same around the world. It seems to be so many different kinds. You have like Inuit throat singing, where they have this sort of ingressive, like kind of sounds, and some people say, is that even music? And then you have these like beautiful kind of group choruses in Africa, and you have these kind of really kind of hush solo singing in some Middle Eastern cultures. And some people always say there's so much diversity, there's nothing that's universal about music. But when you really look kind of beyond sort of some of the surface differences, you find that there are some core features that are shared by not all music, but almost all music. Things like these discrete scales, these discrete simple rhythms that are easy to dance to. And again, there's not all music. So there are some songs that don't have a beat, and there's some music that doesn't even have pitch. Like rap music often it has a beat, but often no rhythm. But you usually find most of these features in most of the musics around the world. And in fact, when we did a sort of a statistical analysis of 304 musical recordings from all around the world, we found that there were these dozens of features that were found in almost all, not all, but almost all this vast, really diverse group of traditional music recordings. So it's not the same, but there's some kind of unifying core blocks that sort of make music sort of a universal human thing.
And so you mentioned that so people are quite often familiar to listening to music for pleasure and appreciating it on a kind of an artistic level. But how can we study music scientifically?
That's a good question. Some people say, why would you want to take the beauty out of it? But I do both. I have performed and sing music. I do like Japanese folk song competitions here, but I also study music scientifically, and I apply these sort of statistical tools to it. And I like doing it because it helps me to understand music better, and I think it helps me appreciate music more, and helps me to get a better idea of what it is about music that I find so fascinating and so beautiful. Yeah, I think that the more we know, the better. And a lot of these, because music is so diverse, I find that sort of a scientific, quantitative, statistical approach helps to kind of get some sense of the trends. Because if you just point to counterexamples, you say, "Oh, well, music tends to be like this." Oh, but what about this bizarre recording I have from this, isolated tribe in far off place? That's true. That it is. That's cool. But then, it sort of stops you from getting a sense of, okay, well, what kind of is shared by most music. So when we are able to say, okay, 90% of music has X, and then sort of quantify these things, and it gets a better sense. Okay, what aspects of music are kind of shared everywhere, and what aspects are more unique. And I don't know, it gets just helps me to kind of appreciate the sort of the diversity and the unity that we find in the world's music.
Thank you very much, Pat.
Thank you, Tom.
Well, thank you again, Pat, and thank you, Tom Curry, as well, for bringing us that interview. Now, as I said, that was from last year, but I still, it's very interesting, that, I think, especially when they're talking about, I think perhaps one of the things that came out to me is the kind of purposes behind music. Thinking about an evolutionary purpose for music is actually very interesting. I can imagine, what would be really cool is actually a good friend of mine, Jared. I mentioned him earlier because of the interview with Ian, actually, because he is a marvelous grower of Ghost Chili Peppers. Just as a cheeky side note, but he actually works. And now I have been trying to get him on, people. So, don't blame me for him not being here today. Okay, I have tried to get him on the show, but many times actually. But He's, I'll manage one day. Don't worry, I'll manage. Anyway, he works on social networks, essentially, a kind of broad area of science, essentially looking at trying to kind of, if you can imagine making a physical map, like a 3D map of interactions between different individuals. And actually, coming back to Pat's point there about music being this kind of group cohesive force, you could kind of imagine as, looking at musicians in particular, I wonder if they would have more importance as these kind of interconnecting nodes. They call them nodes, these different points in this social networks. And it would be quite cool, actually, if you could look at social networks and actually look at the importance of the musicians as those nodes. There's lots of cool stuff going on, basically. Anyway, that's quite enough from me for now. I'm going to move on very swiftly. But there is a little bit of a shout out. Another shout out, actually. Tony and Maggie still packing. And I thought, well, perfect chance to actually see if we could play a song for you to, help you along with your packing. And actually, Tony's come back with an absolutely cracking request, okay? I couldn't have chosen a better one myself. And I think, even better, we could follow this up, This is well and truly music, as Pat and Tom were debating there earlier. What isn't music? I think we can all safely assume that this next song certainly is music. Let's get this on for you right away. Enjoy.
Tonight.
Keep on packing now, baby. You're nearly there. So many boxes. So many boxes. What a classic. Oh, never gets old, that. Right, okay, moving on then. What have I got for you next? Well, good question. Next up, I've got, actually, Even from the Trusted Reviews company. He's actually editor of Trusted Reviews. And the point of this section, okay, is to help you, right? Because I thought, had a bit of science there. But what we're going to do now, nearly Christmas, folks. We had Stephanie's Christmas update this morning. You're going to have to catch it on the catch-up now to hear the Christmas update again. But I thought, well, I'm going to help you choose the very best presents. I care about you deeply. Love you all. Thank you for tuning in. And here's a little bit of help to you. Choosing the very best Christmas presents this year, particularly if you're interested in kind of tech and games and toys and things. So perfect if you've got any kids. I'm actually gonna have to give a little bit of a shout out to Rufus and Lila, actually, and Gareth as well, and Susie, if they're listening. Then this is going to help you, I think. But just be careful, because I'm pretty sure particularly Rufus, I think, if he hears some of the things that he's going to be talking about in a minute, some of these toys, there's going to be no escaping it. You're going to have to go and pick them up. And of course, yeah, good timing for this. You know, we can talk about a lot of sci-fi toys here, and of course, well, it's only a week today. Actually, the new Star Wars film will be out, so kind of good timing as well. Anyway, let's get this on for you now. This is Evan from Trusted Reviews. Hope you enjoy this.
I'm Evan Kiprius, and I'm the editor of Trusted Reviews, where we write a lot about tech and obviously review a lot of products.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much, Evan. Thanks for joining me on the show. I must say, actually, I'm excited about the Xbox One X in particular. I've got an Xbox One S at the moment. My girlfriend last Christmas made the fateful error of getting me one, actually, and I just got lost in the world of games. Outlast 2, have you played that? That is just a hilarious game.
I haven't, but I've heard very good things about it. It's one of those. It's one of those survivals, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, horror survival. Yeah. So we've started a kind of weekly night now with my mates where they come over and we try and get through it. It's so scary. It's so scary. My little brother Fred, right? He plays it. He's got no problems. He just slams the doors open. Doesn't care about the zombie people after him. It's impossible. Anyway, yeah, enough about that. Yeah, well, over to you then, Evan. I mean, what are you thinking? What's in your work over at Trusted Reviews? I'm guessing you've got a list, or at least at the start of a list of things that are looking good. Particularly in the area of tech and gadgets and things. What are the kind of most sought after items that you're seeing coming up for this Christmas?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a bunch of lists of all the kind of best items from every category, but I think, the things that I've been quite surprised at, because obviously we had Black Friday and Cyber Monday, the things that haven't surprised me are the consoles. You already mentioned the Xbox One X. That's done very well. Then you've got the PS4 Pro, and also the one that's been really, really popular is the Nintendo Switch. I think because it offers something really quite different. You've got quite powerful gaming on the go, which excites me. It's also the product that actually we gave the Best Product of the Year award to in our awards. That's how good we think it is.
Oh, fantastic. Is the Switch, is this is this the console that does it have? I mean, I'm not actually sure on exactly what it is, but you have this handheld device as well, don't you, with the Switch?
So it's a handheld. Basically, it's like a tablet game console.
Yes.
So it's got a 6.2-inch screen. It's got controllers that attach to the screen, and you can take it out and about. But it also has a dock that attaches to your TV. So then you just plonk it. So you can be playing, on your sofa, using a little screen, or on the train on your way home. As soon as you get home, you can plonk it into the TV, detach the controllers, and continue playing on the big screen. Cool. Which is really quite clever. And I think it's Nintendo had a bit of a problem with their previous console, the Wii U. It didn't really take the world by storm.
Yes.
And they went back to the drawing board and thought, what do we do well?
Yes.
And created something that you can. It's a toss-up between having a PlayStation and an Xbox. They're very similar experiences. This is something totally different, so that's why we really like it as well. Yeah,
that's nice. I guess because, as you're saying, obviously Nintendo didn't exactly take over the world with their previous consoles, but I guess what they were good at is just offering something different. Obviously with the Wii and things like that, it was totally different to the other, or the Xbox and PlayStation were basically quite similar to PC, weren't they? Just
and that's kind of remained the same, really.
Yes.
You've got the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro are basically more powerful versions of the PS4 and Xbox One.
Yes.
So you've got better graphics, high frame rates, which means smoother. It all looks a little bit smoother. And if you've got a 4K HDR TV, then it can really look special. But essentially, the same games that you can play on the PlayStation, you can play on the Xbox. On the PlayStation 4, you can play on the PlayStation 4 Pro, and with the Xbox, it's the same. With the Switch, they've also got their own kind of IP. So you've got Zelda, you've got Mario.
Yes.
Two games that have done really, really well. Again, Zelda won our Game of the Year because it offers something different.
Yes.
So if you've got a gaming PC, you don't really need an Xbox or a PlayStation. If you've got an Xbox, you don't need a PlayStation. But the Switch, doesn't matter what you've got, you'd probably want a Switch.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, actually. That's nice. Yeah, because I've got an Xbox and obviously a PC as well. I'm going to have to ask you, I'm afraid, and this might divide some listeners, but I'm going to have to ask you, what kind of games man are you? Are you a PC man, Xbox man, PlayStation man, Nintendo man?
I am more a PC gamer than anything else.
Awesome.
So I've got two gaming PCs. I also have both virtual reality headsets.
Oh, nice.
I do have a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but I don't really play anymore because I've also got a toddler and a pregnant wife. So my gaming days feel like they're over until I'm going to
Well,
I think,
congratulations anyway. That's
Okay.
fantastic. That's fantastic news. But yeah, I thought I will light a candle for the lack of your gaming day. So.
And most of it is on my mobile phone now, which doesn't count really.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no. Please don't say you're a mobile phone games man.
So I take what I can get these days.
And of course, yeah. Moving on to the other side of things, because I tell you what I saw the other day actually on Facebook. There's a cracking little video of my little cousin Rufus. Rufus is playing with a lightsaber. It's one of these, the ones that kind of, I think they're called Force Effects ones. These really cool ones that kind of light up and things.
Yep.
The toys, and I think obviously with the new Star Wars coming out, I think is it the 13th? I think the new Star Wars film's out. But I'm guessing anyway, toys from Star Wars are going to be a big sell this Christmas, I would imagine.
They are, yeah. I mean, there's the Kylo Ren lightsaber which came out with the previous movie, still
Yes.
very, very cool. I mean, that is, a couple of £100 worth of lightsaber then there, but it's heavy, it's properly made, it's got all the detail.
Yes.
But I think in terms of this year, two of my favourite toys that have come out are the Star Wars battle drones. These are drones that if you have more than one, you can start battling in the skies with them. So they have infrared lasers and things like so you can try and hit the opponent, which is really, really cool.
That's going to be a cool one for kids, yeah.
So that's one of the ones that really you kind of look at him. It's like, yeah, I want the Millennium Falcon to be fighting some TIE fighters. I'm quite happy with that one. And there's also a really, really cute Sphero R2D2. So it beeps, but it's got all the character right from the films. Everything you remember from the original trilogy is there in this cute little R2D2 droid that
awesome.
Lives on its own. It can do things on its own, but you can also create routes for it to follow in the app. And if you put The Force Awakens on or A New Hope and things like that, it picks up little moments in time and gets excited when it sees itself and things like that, which is really, really sweet.
That is
It's got proper personality.
Yeah, I'm saying this is great for kids, but what I really mean is that I'm definitely going to get
You
it.
want this, don't you? You're just putting your Christmas list together now.
Yeah, no, exactly. Oh, Evan, tell us more about the kids' toys. Honestly, no, that sounds cool though. Yeah, nice stuff. I think the there's that not obviously not that we know much about it yet, but in the trailer there was that cute new Star Wars animal. I bet he's going to be some kind of toy coming up.
Yeah, we haven't seen much. I've forgotten what they're called now, but they're like puffin otters.
Yeah,
I like to call them.
that's the one. Yeah, space otters.
They're very, very cute, but I haven't seen anything yet. I think some of the toys are still waiting to come out, but I'm sure they'll come out because they're very. I imagine a Furby type toy as one of those coming out.
I can definitely see that. And thinking about the Kylo Ren lightsaber and the a couple of £100 worth of lightsaber you're saying, but I just think it's funny because a lot of people probably hear that and laugh, but to be honest, I can definitely see myself getting that. And actually, my brother recently for his birthday, one of his mates got him literally the coolest present ever. It was a Gandalf sword replica.
Oh, that is that. Yeah, that's yeah.
It is pretty cool.
I like that.
No more to be said on that, is there? I mean, that is just fantastic.
I can hear people tuning off. No. I mean, there are. I think there's the other thing with those, with the Kylo Ren toys, and generally a lot of these Star Wars toys that are the first ones that come out. So the first Star Wars drones and the first R2D2 and BB-8. Is that there's probably going to be value in the future.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars is just one of those things. These things can grow in value if you look after them and keep them in a box. I mean, that's no fun for Christmas, but you might want to buy two.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, this is great. I can maybe get one for little Rufus, and then just pop one away for me. That's no
exactly in the attic and wait 20 odd years.
And actually, coming back to the consoles that we're talking about, because a lot of talk about the 4K functionalities. I assume here, right, you need to get yourself a 4K TV and to truly experience that properly.
Yeah, to make the most out of the newer consoles, you do need a 4K TV. That's not saying you don't get any benefit if you don't. So one of the things it does, it kind of, even if you've got a full HD TV, it will kind of sharpen everything up, it'll upscale it, and it will make it look better. The other thing that the consoles do, the newer consoles, is they apply more effects. So there's more kind of, when there's an explosion, it looks more realistic, regardless of whether you're on 4K or not.
Yes.
But if you've got 4K and HDR in particular, I think HDR is the other interesting one. High dynamic range. The TV it has many more color.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it can go from a deeper color and to a so it's got more brightness, and it can go from a different to more color ranges in infinitely more space. So that gives you a much nicer effect, and it works for movies as well. So actually, to be honest, I think that is the more interesting technology over the 4K.
Yes.
That just makes everything a bit sharper. But the HDR colors is just amazing.
No, that sounds awesome. I haven't actually seen one of these yet. I've heard of them, obviously, but I haven't come across one yet. And obviously, you could basically just completely expand your world, right? You get one of those and get one of these, the streaming sticks that you can get now. And get yourself on Netflix on one of those. Ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's interesting with the streaming sticks, I think they're brilliant for making a older TV smart.
Yeah.
But then if you buy any kind of new 4K HDR TV, will be a smart TV. Mm-hmm. So because I bought a new TV last year, and I found out that I don't really use my Apple TV or my Chromecast anymore because
right. Yes. Yeah.
I don't need to. It's all kind of there on the TV. So they've kind of migrated to the bedroom telly, which is great because now I've got a smart telly over there as well. So I think it's like a streaming stick is a really, really clever way of cheaply making an old TV, giving it a new lease of life, as you say.
Yeah, it could be quite a nice gift idea actually for people who couldn't splash out on the the more expensive TVs. They could get one of those. That's not a bad idea. And actually, I was just asking as well, even just so people can to give people a hand if they're kind of thinking about all of these various devices, but basically want a helping hand in deciding which one to get. Let's say, especially since I wasn't really sure on what the Switch had over the other two options. Can we send listeners these reviews? Can people have a look at these and check them out themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So we review loads of products impartially, but what we've also done to make life easier for people, especially if they're not that techie, is we've created guides that really explain what the differences are between things and really clearly help people get the right product for them.
Yes.
So if you want, whether it's kind of best telly or the best console or whatever it is like that you want to get, what we've created is guides with different price points because not everyone wants to spend the same amount of money on a product as well. Ideal,
and they can catch this on your website.
On trustreviews.com, that's right, yes.
Ah, sweet, fantastic. Well, thanks very much, Ivan. I'll let you go. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas, and congratulations again on your fantastic news. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, man.
Do catch Outlast too, honestly. It's a great game.
I will try and find the time.
At some point, yeah. All right, have a great day. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much, Ivan, here to help us get the coolest Christmas gifts this year, in case you needed any help there. Talking about Star Wars toys there now, and this is going to be, I'm sorry, it's going to be a shameless plug of a past couple of episodes that we got on here. But honestly, if you're interested in kind of space stuff, I've actually covered quite a bit of some kind of space science before. One in particular, which I think you're going to really, really like. You can find this actually on our YouTube playlist, so do check it out if you want. So either via the Source FM website, if you find this morning's breakfast show slot, there's a link there to the Listen Again service, so you can find that. You can find the playlist, or you can just type it straight into YouTube if you want. Ben's Breakfast Show, Cornwall's Science Sessions. But yeah, we had the profs on a while ago actually debating the possibility of the existence of alien life. So this is fantastic. So two of the the very top academics at the university debating this. So I think you'll like that if you're a fan of this. We also spoke about Mars. We got a brilliant couple of PhD students talking to us about Mars and also asteroids as well. So we had the fantastic Tim Gregory, who is actually, you might have caught Tim recently on BBC's programme Astronauts. So it's all about training to become an astronaut. And Tim was actually on that. Fantastic chat, really, really brilliant speaker as well. So we had him on a X show as well. So do check it out. Now, I was thinking, either for you listeners today, you're right. I don't know what you're thinking really, but I'll tell you what I thought, and if you disagree, just give me a cheeky text, and because it's all for you. I just want to make it what you want it, really. But anyway, so I was thinking, okay, so I could either play some of that debate again, that alien debate, thinking a little bit about Star Wars, obviously. There, well, kind of one of the key components of Star Wars is aliens. So let's put it to the profs. Let's hear from them. Aliens real, guys? Come on, tell us all. There, we'll debate that. Very interesting science crops up in there. Lots of kind of theoretical stuff as well, and more philosophical stuff on the other hand as well. But yeah, I think you'll like it. Thinking about. I think one of the key things, I'm not going to give away too much, no spoilers here, folks, but, just one of the key things, I think, is thinking about, there are certain ways to think about biology, if you're thinking from a kind of physics point of view, and thinking about actually what it's essentially doing is essentially speeding it. So there's, the laws of the universe, which always must be satisfied, right? And that is that entropy increases. One of these laws is that entropy must always increase on the whole, And what that means is that disorder increases, and what that means is essentially you can't have. So this is quite a tough thing to get across, I suppose. But if you imagine you can have useful energy, and useful energy really means that not random energy. So something not random can happen, and obviously cells and living things need a lot of not random things to happen. Okay, because obviously if you've got random reactions taking place, then of course you can't have life, because almost by definition life is this very complex biochemistry that has to occur in a particular way. It can't just act randomly. It can't remain in a random orientation of chemicals and whatever, and structures and things like this. But actually, what life is very effectively doing is increasing disorder overall, because it itself has to be extremely disordered. We kind of touched on this a couple of times before, actually, on the show, but life itself has to be extremely ordered. Okay, that's almost by definition, it's extremely ordered life. But what you can also say is that, what in terms of the universe? We know that we know for a fact, of course, that overall the amount of disorder has to increase. But what life is doing to make that order is, of course, it's using so much energy. It's pumping out so much heat, so much kind of chaotic energy, and so much disorder. It pumps all that out. You can kind of imagine it almost as a pump, pumping out heat. Taking in lots of complex molecules, pumping out heat. And what that means is that overall, they're a very, very effective disorder engine. So it's almost like the universe. It's almost like these things exist just as a consequence of that universe. Of that universal process, this drive towards disorder. It's almost like life exists as an engine to enhance and speed that up. Lots of interesting stuff. Anyway, I realised that wasn't interesting slightest. That was just rambling. I tell you what, it's shall I chuck in a quick noise to make that a bit more bearable? Wait. Okay. Anyway, let's move on then. So I thought, Anyway, what I was saying was that I came to the conclusion that I wouldn't play that again. I will give you the option to go and check that out if you would like to on the catch-up show. What I am going to finish up with today, though, folks, so this is a goodbye from me now, but I'm going to finish up with this very, 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 very special message, an interview, and I'm really, really pleased about this. We've got Sinead Reid on the show, actually, BMX champion, 3 times world champion. Pro BMX sports woman. She's on the show today to talk a little bit about getting back on your bike and staying on your bike as well. We actually had talk about cycling a bit before on an X show as well. Again, little plug there. You didn't notice it. Anyway, check that out as well. Anyway, today we've got Sinead Reid to talk about getting on your bike, and also a message out there as well, particularly for any girls or young women. Actually, really any women. Particularly for you as well, to encourage you. We had the founder of Ada Lovelace Day talking about the importance of encouraging women in STEM. A few times we've touched on this topic, but I think it's something which just needs pressing all the time. I'm really pleased to give you this section. I'll finish up with this. So I'm going to say my goodbyes. Oh, I know, it's difficult. I don't like it. I hate saying goodbye to you all. Thanks for joining me. Big thank you to you for tuning in. Do catch me next week, okay? Next week is, it's the 30th. It's my 30th live show here on Source. A big celebration. It's also going to be the start of the Christmas special, okay? Christmas special show for you next week. It's going to be very, very, very special. Okay, I've got some mystery celebs to unveil for that show, so you're going to love that. So please do catch me on Thursday if you have the time. Next Thursday from 7:30 in the morning. Do catch me then. But for now, it's a goodbye. Thank you very much to all of our special guests. Thanks to Liam Howley, Neil Doherty from Q Magazine, and from Liam from Music Magpie. And thank you to Ian Cumming, Great British Bake Off 2015 runner-up, talking about his low-energy cooking with Smart Energy GB. Thank you to Ivan, we just heard from there, Ivan Kyprios, the Trusted Reviews editor. Thank you also to Tom Curry and Pat, who brought that interview from last year now, that interview about the evolution of music. And now finally a big warm welcome to Sinead Reid, and thank you for coming on the show. Last of all then, it's a goodbye. Well, have a great day, folks. Enjoy.
So my name's Sinead Reid. I was a former track cyclist and BMX cyclist on the Great Britain cycling team. Went to the Beijing Olympics and London Olympics.
Fantastic. Well, a very, very warm welcome to you, Sinead. Thanks for joining us today. And let's start to talk about getting people back on their bikes and trying to encourage them to take this on, because this is something which I can understand this myself. And I'm sure it's a bit strange for a champion such as yourself talking to everyday cyclists, let's say, people who use their bikes just for hobbies or for travel or whatever. But fantastic we can have you here to talk about this. To kind of encourage those people to get on the bikes, because I can just see so many pluses to doing this, but I guess the difficulty is people doing this and then staying with it. I wonder if you just had any words of encouragement kind of straight off about that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think like HSBC UK and British Cycling have obviously conducted this study on how to get small nudges to get people to stay on bikes, or just initially to get on bikes for the first time again in many years. And I think there's many ways to look at it. It's not all about commuting into work and being amongst the traffic, but just to simply get out on a Saturday or a Sunday with your family, go in a park, and ignite that flame when you were first a child and got on a bike and, had that buzz again. And I think when you kind of get your leg over a saddle and get on again for the first time, them feelings do come back to you. And then there's also, if you go onto the website, British Cycling website, there's a lot of information there to do a lot of group rides, female-only rides. There's all different kind of groups that cater for different levels of abilities. But yeah, it's a great exercise. Get out there and get on your bikes.
Fantastic, and and if we're thinking about being greener as well, I can imagine it's just such a major benefit for this as well. On the science show actually that we have on this station, actually we talk sometimes about the kind of upcoming technologies, that are green technologies and things. But actually there are already so many changes that people can make to massively benefit the environment. Such as something as simple as pop on your bike. Obviously, we saying not all about the commuting, as you said just there, but if we could make small changes like that, actually, the massive benefit not only to yourself but also to the environment as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's not just about yourself; it's about the environment as well. So, like getting on a bike and going to work and cutting down on the carbon footprint, I think it's massive. But it's also enjoyable. You set your day off well. You can get into the office with some good endorphins flowing in your body, and it'll set you up for a great day ahead.
Fantastic. And Sinead, is this something that you've always, ever since you were younger, felt a pull to cycling? That you were talking about those feelings earlier about, those lovely feelings and reigniting those passionate feelings for cycling and getting on the bike. Is that something which you kind of always felt yourself?
I think, like, when I was a child, I loved just doing all different sports, like being active in general.
Yes.
But when I found the bike, I felt like I could, especially with BMX, I felt like it was like a controlled, extreme sport where I could be daring, but at the same time, like, I was in control of my machine in a way.
Yes.
So I just had such a great time going to the local BMX track, riding with friends, and pushing my abilities on the bike. It was always something that really, kept me wanting to go back for more, because I could always challenge myself in different areas.
Yes, that's fantastic. Because I was just thinking as well, not only, of course, the importance of encouraging, adults who lapsed riders, let's say, know how to ride but have stopped riding, to get them back on their bikes, but also perhaps as well as a reminder for parents maybe to encourage their kids to get on the bikes, because to experience that young, allow them to feel that when they're young.
Yeah, definitely.
And they'll take off.
Yeah, I think sometimes if you're kind of trying to get a teenager, it's kind of like it's a bit, you kind of lost that, that spark that you can get when they're a youngster. And I just remember when I first got my stabilisers off my bike, and I was about 5, I think, and just having that buzz to think, wow, I can ride my bike without stabilisers. And then it was the next step, Mum, can I ride to school on my bike? And yeah, it was just having that buzz. And I think as parents, obviously, you have a duty as well to try and push that, to get your kids on bikes. But at the same time, you've got to remember the safety equipment and everything else that comes with it to be visible,
yes, to
traffic out there as well.
That's a very good point. I find this really interesting as well. This point about the use of technology. Apparently there was a 39% more likely to cycle again afterwards if those people had experienced a session with a virtual reality headset, showing them a cycling experience. I think that's a really cool thought.
Yeah, I think like the virtuality things is great. Like it just shows where everything's heading in terms of the technology being put into cycling. I've not personally had a go of it myself, but I've heard some amazing feedback. I think you can ride alongside Chris Hoy and feel like you're a part of Chris Hoy's journey in a way.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it kind of breaks down their mental barriers before even actually getting out on a bike, but you can actually feel what it's like and experience what it's like with with the headset on and go through that process.
Yeah, because it's funny because I bet it's just probably quite especially for people who've already been cycling before and maybe stopped for whatever reason. I bet it's just that there's that kick of nostalgia and you think, oh yeah, this is what it's like. It's actually really cool. And then they're probably thinking,
plant that seed again.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's nice thought. I mean, and as we were saying earlier, obviously that there are a lot of benefits to it. Not only for your personal well-being and personal, just for fun as well, of course, but also for the environment as well. So it's nice to try and encourage people back on. I was just wondering as well, Sinead, because it's fantastic. I think when there are really inspirational women who can kind of give messages out there to perhaps young girls or other women, because I think one thing which is unfortunately quite apparent, especially for myself coming from a science background, so this is on our minds a lot about the relative lack of women in science. Are very unfortunate. We're trying to do things about this, but and I think this is something which can be addressed, in all areas really. And I'd love to hear if you had any words of encouragement, perhaps particularly for any young girls out there or women out there.
Yeah, I think whether it be in any domain, obviously cycling and sport in general. I know as a female in PE when I was younger, the drop off rate was quite high.
Yes.
And the girls didn't want to get sweaty and get involved in sport. But for me, I can only say getting involved in something that it seems is more male dominated is even more empowering for a female to kind of get into that world and give it a go, because for me, if I would have sat back and would have been intimidated by it, I would never have had the life I've had and the opportunities that I've been given has been amazing. So,
becoming a world champion, going to the Olympics and things, so it really paid off for you.
Yeah, massively, and at the same time you meet some amazing people along the way as well, so I just say don't ever be discouraged with your dreams. Don't ever feel like you can't do something because your friends aren't doing it or whatever. Just get out there, and if you want to do it, there's always a pathway to to make it happen.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for that. Appreciate those words of encouragement as well. So, Sinead, where can people head if they want to hear a bit more about this HSBC study as well with British Cycling? Where can they head to check out more of this?
You can go to the British Cycling website. It's got all the information on there. It's got some campaigns called Breeze, which are women-only rides. There's all different things on there, and if you go on there, I'm sure you can navigate yourself around the website to find something that suits. And you obviously find all the races on there. So if even if first of all you don't want to actually go on a bike yourself, maybe go into a race will ignite that. So you can get all that information from there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time today. One very fun question for you, and this is my favourite question of them all actually, and that is, would you like me to put a song on for you on the show?
Yeah, I would. Let's think about it.
It's a tough one. It's not, when it's just sprung it on you. So take your time. But
my time trial song at the Olympics was "Mr. Brightside" by the Killers. So
fantastic.
let's go with that one.
Fantastic. I'll certainly get that one.